Right, remember the hashtag is Morning Cafe. Definitely discussing matters sexually transmitted infections and also fertility. As a parent, you're probably sitting there with your child, probably they're below 18 years or maybe above. So this is the time. Don't have this one of those bombastic side days. You're like, can we have this discussion? Oh yes, we're having this discussion right here with Dr. Shari. And just by the way, Doc, the fact that even we're having this conversation off air, and we're curious, the whole matters culture and how having such kind of discussions, STIs and also fertility, and also how really parents who even watching us right now, can they really have some of these discussions openly?
Okay, definitely depends on the person. Unfortunately, that I'm a gynecologist, so this is my bread and butter. So I don't think I have a problem conversing with my children. But we're just talking like, if you look at our own parents, I don't think any of our parents would be comfortable discussing sex and that type of thing when we were teenagers. But the world has changed, and these children are exposed. You want your child not to be at risk. You need to just take the bull by the horns. If you feel you're not able to do it, we have guidance counselors, we have people who are professionally trained to help in such issues. But I would say, just also empower yourself on some of these things. Have these conversations with your children. You are the safe space. You should always be that safe space where your children feel they should come in a time of crisis. Right. So for me, my parting shot would be for parents, let's empower ourselves to be able to empower our children to look after themselves. Right. Again, on the STI issue, my parting shot is very simple. Prevention is better than cure. And it's so simple. It's as simple as A, B, C. Yeah? And A stands for abstinence, and that is our message to the younger population, especially the adolescent population. For those who are already engaging in intercourse, then be faithful to just one partner. You don't need to have 1,000 people all over the place. Kwani kuna tofauti gani? Okay? And unfortunately, because I think we understand the society, there are many issues, and some people do make a living from this, would be, even if it's illegal, protect yourself. You can use condoms. Why should you be infecting other people's children when you can protect them? Okay. Right. On issues fertility, especially for the women, please, there's the expiry date. You said it's 35 years. Please, you plan to have a family, plan to have it before you're 35.
Right. Okay, 22047 Gitau says, I live in Kiambu, the rural bit of Kiambu, and they rarely talk about such matters. Really speaks on the sensitization of matters sexually transmitted infections in rural areas now. It's common when you in urban areas, you'd probably see it on an ad somewhere, probably even on the screens, but then in rural areas, as much as there's the whole new media, radios and all that, but speak on the whole also sensitization of such a topic in rural areas and also even in SOL areas, speaking about places like West Pokot, Turkana, some of those places where they don't really have access to this information. Okay,
so those will be very, very challenging areas, and you've picked West Pokot and Turkana. There's bandits and what have you, but we thank God we have very interesting people in the society, what we call the community health workers.
Oh, yes.
And those people are an integral part of the healthcare system. They're what we'd say the primary healthcare is at the community level. So these community health workers, they work hand in hand with things like chiefs and chiefs barazas, and they would talk about topics that are of importance. So if malaria is the issue, even these STIs, if they find that it's a problem, but you find that in those areas they have a different problem. Here, you're worried about your teen exploring on their own. There they force young girls as young as even 11 or 13 to get married.
Yeah.
So the strategies there would be on how to sensitize the community, on how to let these girls complete school before they get married. In that, we're not against your culture, we're not against you getting your cows. I actually like those traditional ceremonies. They're so much fun. I think Western world had, like, I remember my daughter was like, no, you can't sell me. I'm like, we're not selling you. I'm Luo, and I'm married to a Luya, and I think our cultures are very, very similar. Western world made us imagine that dowry was selling. Yet, if you really look at the context, dowry was not selling. Dowry was a reason to get together. Because in Luo and Luya culture, it's illegal to complete paying your dowry, because if you complete paying your dowry, it means you don't want to come and visit us. So I think we really also need to look at our culture. There are many, many good things. If people really, really understand what was the reason behind doing certain things. Of course, there are those who do it for a commercial whatever, but if we're to look at it, that was the reason. So everything in context. So how do we sensitize these communities that these young girls, they're adolescents, immature reproductive tracts, at higher risk. If her husband has HIV, she's going to get it. Much, much easier. And remember, such communities, they're polygamous. So all the recipe for disaster right there. So it starts with just sensitizing the community and how to reach. And we really thank God for the healthcare workers who are working in such regions under such difficult situations, but trying to bring light and hope to those communities.
Great. Even as you were speaking about the whole issue of selling, I remember some time when I was in Kajiado, and during the drought time, some circumstances can really force parents to do unforeseen things, like some would, for example, choose to sell off their daughters for 30 head of cattle, because kwani tukae njana tuko na msichana hapa kwa nyumba. But even as we wrap up, as speak to the young generation, I know they'll not abstain. So what do they need to do?
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those who are not going to be abstaining, it's either stick to one sexual partner or condom use. Condom use for majority, I think it's only for what's the human papilloma virus that is not amenable to condoms. And again, we only talked about infertility. What are other complications of STIs? So if you look at human papilloma virus, you look at hepatitis. With hepatitis, you can get cancer of the liver. With human papilloma virus, you can get cancer of the cervix. You can get penile cancer. And you can get other complications. So it's not just infertility. They come with other complications that really, is it worth having risky sexual behavior and potential of getting a complication that it's not warranted.
Right.
It's completely unwarranted. And more so that you have very many avenues for protecting yourself.
All right.
Yeah.
And even as we speak about the whole matters ABCs, Nairobi gentlemen wanted to know if it's okay to have two ladies out here. But anyway, we really have to wrap it up.
We definitely are not going to agree, but it's so interesting. I was somewhere and we're having a very interesting conversation. And one woman was saying, I'd rather know the brief, that look, are we just, is it just this or is it something going? And naitikia and nispoitikia. But definitely, if you agree that your brief is we are just having sex and nothing, please protect yourself. Condom use, condom use. And the word is consistent. Because some people, they'll use condoms today, alafu kesho wanasahau. The difference is the same as not using a condom. So it should be consistent condom use.
Right. Okay. My director now also has a number of questions. Definitely wanting to know about matters open relationships. But then I believe it still affects still what you're talking about. Again, consistency on condoms, even as you also have open relationship. Your last words as we wrap up.
On open relationships?
On open relationships, on even the younger generation. How should we really tackle some of these talks? Because I believe, again, even when you're going through social media, some of these conversations, some young couples, it will really be difficult for them to actually openly say, by the way, I have this STI. Or even when they know, how do they even really tackle it as a young generation?
So you look at it, I think even us healthcare workers, we appear to be barriers to people accessing care. Because one of the things we do is that if we diagnose somebody has an STI, we have to do what is called tracing of contacts. So you're ideally supposed to give us a list, if you have multiple sexual partners, of all the people you've been with, and we're supposed to trace them and give them treatment. But I know there are very few people who are going to do that.
Yes, yeah.
Okay? But it's being fair and being kind. And I look at HIV. You have a married couple. Someone knows she's HIV positive, and she doesn't want you to disclose to the husband. And unfortunately, as a healthcare worker, or the husband is HIV positive, and he doesn't want you to disclose to their wife that they're HIV positive. So there's a myriad of problems. But I feel if you really love someone, and even if you don't love the person, it's just respect that person as an individual.
True.
Okay? Just, it's like you are doing this to somebody's daughter or somebody's son. Remember, next time it's going to be your daughter or son someone is doing this to. So if we don't just be responsible, I think it's just a time whereby, as a society, we just have to face what the issue is. And the issue is just being responsible.
All right.
You think you're a responsible human being, the least you can do is use a condom. The least.
So much, Dr.
Right. We really have to wrap it right here. Thank you, Dr. Maureen Owiti,
Yes.
Head of Reproductive Health at KNH. Asante sana for your wise words. We've definitely learnt a lot. You definitely...
A lot, actually, and I hope I think my greatest takeaway is that people should be responsible. Ladies, 35, I'm told, is the expiry date. So do something about your family planning before then, yeah. And let's be a responsible nation, really, and protect each other, and also create awareness for our children.
All right, and now from that particular bit, matters conversation on STIs and fertility, we are now to cross over to now the County Diary.